Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're here today with our good friend, Dorena Williamson. Dorena is a best-selling author who writes children's books that adults need too. She's published several books, including Colorful, Thoughtful, Graceful, The Celebration Place, and The Story of Juneteenth. Dorena's new book is titled Every Breath, Every Blessing, Finding Hope on Tough Days. Dorena is the co-planter and co-pastor of multiracial Strong Tower Bible Church in Nashville and a stylist with national brand Ever Eve. Her writing has been featured in Christianity Today, Facts and Trends, and Crosswalk. Dorena was a featured speaker in both the Publishing and Color conferences and the Christian Children's Book conferences that I had the honor of producing. And Dorena is involved in Red Bud Writers Guild, SCBWI, Be the Bridge, and several other organizations. She and her family live in Franklin, Tennessee, and you can learn more about Dorena and all of her work at DorenaWilliamson.com. So Dorena, thank you so much for joining us. It's such a pleasure to see you again and be able to see that you've got another great new book coming out.
Thank you, Brian. I am so grateful to have this opportunity to chat with you and really grateful as you and I conversed before we started for the legacy of publishing in color and your desire to just, put an opportunity out there that would gather, that conference, Black writers. And I think I had published one book and had a second one coming and was feeling very uncertain about just what this whole publishing path would look like. And, I remember coming feeling very uncertain. And so I really just want to honor you because you created a really special place. And from that conference, however many years ago, have continued some really precious relationships for me and just an empowerment that I needed. And I hope to pay some of that forward. So thank you
Well,
so
thank
much for
you.
your good
Thank
work.
you. I mean, it was such a blessing, and it's such a blessing to see how people like you have run with the opportunities. It's kind of like the whole purpose of that was just to put together people in the same room, right?
Yes.
Aspiring writers of color and people from
Yes.
the publishing industry and see what opportunities came up. And,
Yes.
sure enough, there were people like you that took advantage of those opportunities. So it's
Yes.
really, because look how many books you've published now. It's just wonderful.
Oh, well, it's a joy. It really is a joy. I'm so grateful.
So, is there anything else that you want people to know about you besides what I touched on there?
I need to update the bio that you just beautifully read. Thank you so much for that. My family's actually moved just a couple months ago. We moved to Smyrna, which is just north of Nashville. So it's still
Okay.
in the Middle Tennessee area. And then I have in common with you that I'm now a grandmother. So, that is a very important part of my life. And as have really owned, that's been an additional, very important motivation to the work that I'm doing because it not only speaks to the heart to put goodness in the world for children and the type of things I would love my four children to have read when they were growing up. But now the motivation is even greater because I have a grandson and he's a mixed race little boy. And so I want him to really own the fullness of who he is and have books that, he wants to grab and wants to read, but also thinking about what kind of messages do I want him to be
Yeah.
able to embrace. And so it's just been the best, sort of boost to, okay, this is a worthy work and I'm doing this for my grandson. So
Oh, wow. Well, thank goodness there's finally books, like yours that exist, right?
yes,
For both children and, adults, because, as, you know, I found out as I started, working in the publishing industry, that certainly was not the case, until pretty recently. So,
right.
the fact that there are role models like you, from an authoring perspective and creating the books that, you know, people can read, where they see themselves, or people like them. And so it's just great to see that you're, continuing. And I'm glad about, your additional motivation as a grandparent.
Yes, yes, yes. And you understand it well.
Yes, yes. So, before we talk about your new book, can you talk a little bit about, the work that you do beyond writing? Because you're involved, as I said, in several different things.
Sure. Well, the first thing that I do that's very much connected, I think everything in life just has some type of a synergy and connection. But the wonderful pastoral work that I do with the wonderful faith community that my husband and I have had the privilege of leading and loving. This is our 30th year. So September will
Wow.
be our 30th anniversary, which is amazing. And all glory to God for that. We're just grateful that we've gotten to be a part of a good work, particularly here in the Mid-South. It's been an interesting 30 years. There's been some beautiful moments of unity and beautiful moments of moving the needle of justice forward and, loving our neighbors and loving God well, which, are the two greatest commandments. But it's also been a work that has had some really hard seasons and some wearying seasons. And so out of that work is really where my author journey began. My first literary seeds that kind of started dropping down from heaven was in a very distressful time of ministry life. And so I love that one worthy work then sort of led to another worthy work, which, that well, having, sort of launched several different means to support authors and writers. And so I'm really grateful for the ways that I get to continue to shepherd people through discipleship, through leadership at church, sometimes through preaching. And then, when I signed my first book contract, I was also beginning to do a little bit of styling work with this national brand, Evereve. And who would have known how that would also be a compliment to me as a middle-aged woman, not giving my age, but certainly wanting to embrace being, empowered as a Black woman and just feeling confident in the skin that I was in and what we wear can be a great part of that. And so it all kind of weaves together because it's that confidence that I give when I style is also confidence that I get to infuse in the work that I do with kids. So it's all a joy and just juggling different hats at different times, but it's all got a beautiful connection in life, and I'm grateful.
Yes, well, you've made the most of it, which has been so wonderful to watch. So good for you.
Thank you.
So, as you know, we've got quite a few aspiring or new authors in our audience. So can you talk a little bit about your actual publishing journey, kind of what that's looked like in terms of the progression of different books and different publishing houses that you've worked with?
Sure. Well, the first thing I would want authors who are, writers who are hoping to be published authors or whatever their path will look like, I want them to know is that for me, being a published author is a calling that found me. Unlike many people who have a set trajectory of going to school to get a degree and taking specific steps towards publishing or writing, I was really happy in my ministry work, in my work as a mom, and the things that I did in the community. And in this season of ministry distress and a really dark season of life, these literary seeds kind of started dropping. And I have been a lifelong journaler, and I thought I was just kind of writing something maybe for a blog, but it ended up that those words formed into a book. And so for me, that journey has looked like a lot of research, a lot of seeking folks to help me learn along the way. Your conference and other conferences out there now can be great tools for authors. I was not agented when I got my first book deal, which is unusual. And so a lot of aspects of my journey have not been the norm. And sometimes that's been difficult, Brian, because I feel like I can't say to people, well, this is what I did, so do this. A lot of times we like, okay, tell me 4 steps to do and give me a chart and I can follow it and I can get the same results. And I'm like,
I mean, everyone's story is so different. I mean, I've
so
found that
different,
all over the
so
place.
different. And then I've, worked with several different publishers as well. And that was not something that I set out to do, but, often, you sign a deal for 2 or 3 books with one publisher, and then they may wait to see how those books sell. And now I am agented, and that agent will shop your work to other publishers. And some publishers may say, oh, we already have content along those lines. It's not quite a fit for us. And another publisher will say, oh my goodness, we've been looking for content like this, and that's what we want. So that's been my journey with working with different publishers. And I also got to be the contributor to Go Bible, which is a children's Bible that Tyndale put out a few years ago. And that was a new stretch out of picture books to contribute content for a children's Bible. But that was a really joyful work for hire process as well. So it's been an unusual journey, filled with uncertainty, but also filled with so much joy. And I'd like to just be real with folks. I don't want to say, oh, it's just been wonderful and easy and blissful and everything's gone the way I wanted. There's been lots of imposter syndrome to press through. And back to your conference, it was such an encouragement because some of the speakers that were there, I felt like they were appointed to seed my heart with
Wow.
affirmation, to say,
Wow.
you Black woman, especially as a middle-aged Black woman, walking in a new season, a new career journey that I had not done. And also I didn't have a lot of community. I didn't have a lot of people or friends or writer groups or anything at the time. Now I do, but I was very lonely. And that conference, I look back as being a beautiful mile marker of, okay, let me take a deep breath. I can do this. I am purposed. I'm called. I may not know everything I'm doing, but I can reach out for help, humble myself, and continue down this path. And as you've very kindly shared, I'm grateful for the opportunities that continue to open for me to share.
So given all that, what kind of advice do you have for people that are just getting started?
Well, I would first of all tell them that no one is going to believe in your work more than you.
Hmm.
So don't pull back on your own joy about what you're writing. Like if you think this is awesome, this is amazing, I don't think there's anything like this out there, hold on to that and don't let anyone take that from you. Even as you do put your work out into the world and you seek, an agent, or you may seek writer groups to give you some critiques and things like that. If you are just beginning, I would very much encourage you to lean into community. And there are many ways you can do that. I am a children's book writer. So as you mentioned, the Society of Children's Book Writers and
Yeah.
Illustrators, SCBWI, is a great way to have community. They're all over the nation. And there are virtual opportunities and conferences. You have opportunities through the organizations that you started. So there are many ways that you can grow in community because you need to have other eyes and other critique of your work. Everyone thinks their work is wonderful, but it needs other eyes before you get to looking for an agent and then an agent begins to query it. So I would just kind of give those initial thoughts of lean into community, take the time to do your researching and look for opportunities to grow as a writer and to have other eyes on your work as you kind of begin the process. And then just don't give up. Don't give up. It's not easy. It's the publishing world, as you well know, continues to change so much. But keep on pressing, stay diligent, and the right path will unfold for your work.
Cool, cool. So let's get to your book. As I mentioned, the title was Every Breath, Every Blessing, Finding Hope on Tough Days. Look at that. Thank you. How did that book happen?
Oh, well, every book has a different origin story. And that's another note I would say to prospective writers is to own that, to own what the origin is, where it came from. For me, this book sadly originated during a very difficult season locally and nationally after the tragedy a few years ago at our local Covenant school,
Yeah, yeah.
where several adults and children were tragically killed. And, that church, Covenant Church, is right down the road from the church that my husband and I planted. And we do community ministry with that church. We've partnered with other organizations for years to do good community work, loving our neighbors, empowering people. So I joined so many people in being heartbroken. And in the days following that, as I lamented and mourned and poured my longing into my journal and just how do we protect kids? How do we give kids hope and joy when we as the parents or caregivers are struggling ourselves? I saw parents saying, how do I send my kids to school? I'm scared, but I can't put them in a bubble. I can't put a shield around them and never let them out of my sight. But how do we deal with this? And the words of longing and lament that I began to write during that time ended up forming into this book.
Wow, good for you.
And
Talk about,
I
making lemonade out of lemons, right?
absolutely, and I mean, it wasn't, oh, I'm going to sit down and write a book for people to find hope on tough days. But it was just, again, that reality of our kids are growing up in a world where there is so much uncertainty, and it's different from what you grew up with, from what I grew up with. There are different forces coming at our
Yeah,
families and our
yeah.
communities. and they deserve some good tools to help them navigate that. And so that's what
Mm.
every breath, every blessing is. And I hope it'll find its way into lots of homes and hearts.
Well, good for you. I mean, talk about a ministry to help other people. That's exactly what that book is, right? I mean,
Yes.
good for you. And I really respect that. And I'm so happy that was your focus in creating
Thank you.
that. So the book description says it's for ages, 4 through 8. How many pages is it? And why do you write for that particular age range?
Well, to your first point about how many pages, I actually didn't count. Typically, picture books are about 32 pages, so I would say it's the typical page count. And as far as, the age range is a necessary, category for, the book, for all the algorithms and all of the outlets that are going to carry it and sell it. It's necessary to sort of hone in on, okay, who's the target? But what I have found with my books, Brian, is having vivid illustrations on the covers of the books. I've seen toddlers, connect to the cover because there's something relatable for them. They love the color. This is my early copy, and it's been passed around a lot, so it's already got a little bit of tear on the paper. But I've also found that children older than picture book age can still enjoy the message. And my son, who's 31, I, kind of forced my family to read early copy. Like, I got the new book. I want you to look at this. But he actually sat and he said, Mom, I feel really peaceful while I'm reading this. And
Wow.
it almost made me cry because I didn't write it for my 31-year-old son, but as a beautiful, strong Black man growing up and trying to bring up a son now in this world where there's a lot that he has to wrestle through, I was grateful that he could sit with his mama's picture book and have a few moments of peace. And I immediately thought my marketing mind was like, I'm going to share that when I
Yeah,
talk about the book,
yeah,
because
absolutely.
to your what you read earlier and my tagline that I write children's books that adults need too. I have picture books that are my go-tos when the world feels like it's just falling apart and I need to just soothe my inner child. I have a few books that I pull out and I just sit and I close my eyes and I just let them minister to my soul. And so I hope that this will be that for adults as well as for children.
Well, it's like one of the blessings of when our grandkids come to visit, we go to the library and let them pick out some books, for them to read or us to read together, while they're here. And so it gives me a chance to reconnect again with, some of the wonderful, you know, children's books like yours, that I enjoy dramatically too.
Yes, it's beautiful. And, I hope that those who are watching this, if they don't have children in their lives, that they will also see the value of connecting these stories to children in their communities. Many folks are connected to faith communities, but even just being a good neighbor, I see more and more of the little free libraries in,
Yes,
neighborhoods where folks are putting books in, or
yes,
baby showers, or, adoptive,
yeah.
family gifts, birthday gifts, those type of things. So I like to also gently insert that because I respect that not everyone, is a parent or a grandparent or a caregiver of a child, but so many of us are or should be connected, right, in communities
Sure.
where we are connecting with kids or have the opportunities to impact children. And so I would want them to know that this is hopefully a great tool that they can pass on as well.
Well, do you want to show them a couple of pages? Some of the illustrations, or read a couple of pages,
Absolutely.
whatever.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that I really loved on the cover
Yes,
was this
yes.
opportunity to give some inclusion. It's become really important for me and my own awareness to be sure that we are seeing all children, and that involves all those differences. And so I love that that little girl with the wheelchair gets that prominent feature on the cover. And I hope that says to kids, this book is for everyone. Um, One page, and I'll show the illustrations, but it says, in those hard times, I wish we could snap our fingers and find ourselves in a faraway land full of only goodness and peace. And so this mama is reading with
I
her
can imagine.
son, And, my illustrator just did a wonderful job of, adding a lot of color and warmth and vibrancy. Um, but again, I remember feeling after that tragedy at Covenant and just thinking about the world, I do wish there were times I could just take my kids and just snap our fingers and
Yeah.
there's no troubles. We don't have to worry about any of these
Yeah.
dangers or any of the things that concern us. And I'm sure many parents, grandparents, caregivers, children's ministry pastors feel that same thing. We wish we could just escape.
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes we can sort of tune everything out and find a book or find a movie or an activity together, and just tune it all out. But I'll read the next page. It says, but right here, right now, know this. When storms shake everything up, we can wait them out together, and I will pray for you when we are apart. And
Hmm.
so this mama is with her daughter and it's raining outside and
Hmm.
she's giving her comfort because sometimes we have rainy days, literally and figuratively. Um, and we have stormy seasons. And I want children to know that they can experience comfort with their adults in their lives, but also they can feel comforted when they're apart.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so there's also so much joy. I've learned, Brian, with children's books that you want to give kids, here's a wonderful moment of a mama. She's doing her daughter's hair. And so it's just, let's take a moment together. There's lots of threads of families and, campfire and just
Oh,
act-
nice.
activities that cross people groups, that people hopefully around the world feel like there's something in here that they can relate to. But just this sense of, you know, we have good days and then we have days that are hard and we can walk through all of those together.
Hmm. So the illustrator for that book is, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but Paran Kim.
Yes. Yes.
Had you worked with Paran before
I
on
had
your other book?
not. I
Okay.
had not, no. And it's interesting. I would love to work with some of the illustrators again, but every publishing house has a different process for, selecting the illustrators. And then even then, sometimes the ones that we want within a couple weeks span, they were available. Now they're not, it's just such
Yeah.
there's a lot of factors there, but I really, when they gave me the options to choose from and I sought out um, the the illustrator's work and looked in detail at the body of work that I had access to see, Perron's illustrations really sang to me as I thought about the words. And that's part of the joy as a writer when you get to consider whose work, as I look at it, you know, do the, literary agency, but also as I maybe look on their social media or on their website and look at some of the other books they've illustrated, whose work looks like it would really bring to life the words that I've written. And it's a joy to get to be a part of that selection process.
Yes.
And then it's
Yes.
another layer of joy when you get to begin to see the illustrations in person. It's like, it feels like a birthday gift. Like, oh my goodness, this just fills me with joy to see my words
Good, good.
interpreted with images like this. So she was just a joy to, as I saw each image and there wasn't a lot that I wanted changed. I really wanted her to have creative freedom to interpret the words in the ways that she saw fit. And I can't say how pleased I am with how it turned out.
Wow. Wow. It's such a unique thing to me as an outsider coming into this, right? Because I mean, the words and the illustrations are really need to be tightly coupled, right?
Yes.
A strong partnership.
Yes.
But typically, in my experience in speaking with lots of other authors and publishing house people is that, you know, typically the illustrator and the author don't know each other
Correct.
before, they get partnered up to do it. And sometimes still don't even, you know each other in any kind of, significant manner
Right.
thereafter.
That's right.
It's kind of an amazing thing to me.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
your book is a perfect example of how well that works.
It is. And, I think there's only been one illustrator of all the illustrators that I have partnered with my books. Um, One of my books, the illustrator ended up, in addition to illustrating, starting her own line through like an Etsy store where she does stickers and other things to like that people can enjoy her illustrations. And I thought, I want to support her because I really loved how she illustrated my book. And so we had a few interactions through that means. But to your point, typically you don't, and a lot of people don't know that in traditional
Yeah.
publishing, that you don't bring, unless you are the author illustrator, you
Right, right.
don't just, it has to be illustrated with this person or else. Now, maybe celebrities get to do that. People who already have 2 million followers, they can come in snapping their fingers and saying, this is how it's going to be. But people on my level, that's not how it works.
No, no.
And
It's not
so I didn't
most.
know coming in that was,
Yeah, yeah.
the way that it goes. But I will say, with each publisher and Zonder Kids as well, that there's definitely been a collaborative spirit. They wanted my input. And if there were things that I wanted changed or tweaked a little bit, they would ask me. The art director would say, hey, we'll give you a week or we give you a time frame, because they keep things on a schedule. But if there's some things you need tweaked, a lot of times the illustrators are working digitally with the art. So it's not as, hard for them to make a tweak if you
Sure,
want the shirt
sure.
yellow instead of orange, or if you saw the kids doing a certain activity like this or whatever that might look like.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
it's really been a joy to see, literally to see your words interpreted. That's how I see an
Yes,
illustrator
yes.
partnering with a children's book.
So, I think you have a book launch event coming up. Is that true?
That's true. I do. And I'm so excited about it. We're almost a week away. So it's just so exciting to think, or a little more than a week away. It is on August the 11th, Monday night. And I intentionally chose to do it the day before the book release because this is book number 9. And
Wow.
I've learned that I appreciate having a little bit of downtime on the actual release day because hopefully it's filled with lots of people sharing the book, lots of folks reaching out to talk about the book. And I didn't want to also have the pressure of an event on that
Mhm,
day.
mhm,
And so I decided, let's have the event the night before. So lots more people, I hope, I pray, will have the book in their hands. And then that night and that next day, they can show it and share it and tell people, I got a copy and you need yours too. So if any of those watching are local or whatever time this is shared, it's a Monday, August 11th at 6:30 p.m. And it's here in the Nashville area at Just Love Cafe. And we're going to have live music because this is Music City. And I'll be reading the book in its entirety. And then I'll also have a conversation with fellow author. She's also a therapist and a nationally known speaker, Sissy Goff. She's going to join me. Sissy's voice was one of those that really soothed my soul. She did several Instagram live type of opportunities after Covenant just to
mm,
help parents who were grappling with how do we deal with our fears and how do we talk this through with our children and how do we navigate this. And so when I kind of made my dream list of who would I want to join me that night and have some conversation about themes surrounding this book, she was top of my list, and I'm so grateful that she is availing herself. And I hope it will be a night of encouragement, a night that's informative. I'll post little bits of it later on so people
good.
can see. But that's the official launch event. And then I also will be at Cheekwood Gardens, which is one of our wonderful local attractions that people come to. Cheekwood has a Black Arts Bash every year. And so I will get to join that story time. I think this is my 3rd year doing story time for them. And I'm excited because it's during launch week. So hopefully
Oh,
that's a whole
good.
nother
Good.
audience that I'll be able to share it with that Saturday, the 16th of August. And then finally on the 22nd of August, I'll be at one of our wonderful local bookstores, Parnassus, which has kind of
Oh,
become
yeah.
nationally
Yeah.
known,
Good.
right?
Yep.
So I'll be at Parnassus on that Friday night, August 22nd, in the evening, having a discussion and reading the book as well.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. What about any online events that people
Uh,
can?
Online, I've got a couple Instagram lives that are getting scheduled. So
Okay,
I'll be, posting about those, letting folks know. So there'll be a few opportunities for me to engage live with people.
good.
Most likely Instagram is how I usually do it. I still have a fair amount of followers. My mom was one of them on Facebook. So, we may throw in something on Facebook too. But we're nailing down some dates. So, I
Good,
wanted to
good,
get the in-person one set as well because there's obviously factors involved there, but some live virtual ones will be coming too. So stay tuned.
good, good, good. Oh, that's so exciting. So I know you're in the middle of all of this, but I have to ask you about the future. Is there anything you can talk about in terms of future books or other
Sure.
projects after this?
Yes, yes. There's a little bit of navigation with, okay, what can I share?
Right, right, right.
I'm grateful, so grateful, Brian, because this next book, book 10, has a bit of connection to this book, book 9. And I won't give anything away about the subject matter, but I did post about it a few weeks ago. The title of that book is Love Lives On. And
Mm,
that is scheduled for fall of 2026. So we don't have a concrete publishing date yet. But I'm excited about that one because it will be my first book published with that's not with a Christian publisher. So Imagination is the
mm,
name of the publisher, not Imagination as we know, but Imagination with an M.
mm.
And they are the publishing imprint of the American Psychological Association. And
Really?
so I'm excited about that
Wow.
one because that book also deals with a topic that is not easy, but one that is very pertinent to our kids today. And
Mm,
that's really become part of my call is
mm.
instead of shrinking back from the difficult topics that we need to be conversing with our kids on, let's
Yeah,
let books be a tool and a
absolutely.
companion to
Yes.
begin dialogue and something that isn't just about a hardship because children, we don't want them just reading about things that are hard. We want them seeing joy and having delight and having imagination and seeing everyday people living and loving. And maybe also wrap in there some important messages or some tools that'll help them navigate their world. And so that's what that book and
Oh,
that topic is going
excellent.
to be.
Wow.
So, and it heavily includes some grandparents. So you and I are
Good, good.
back to our shared love of being grandparents.
Yes,
But
yes.
I'm excited about that one. So that's fall 2026.
Okay, excellent. So
So
about a year.
folks can stay
Good.
tuned for that. And then I do have a few projects that are in discussion, various stages of discussion and, querying all that good stuff. So really thankful for the next few years. There's things germinating and we'll just let each one bud and grow. Right now it's underground, just like seeds. And hopefully in time we'll have a little bit of bud to share about, and then at the right time we'll have something blossoming and growing.
Yeah, well, we have a blossoming right now, this new book. As I mentioned, it's Every Breath, Every Blessing, Finding Hope on Tough Days. So please check out Dorena's website, DorenaWilliamson.com. That'll have, more information about the different events that she's talked about, as well as, you know, information on the new books when they're ready. So
Yes.
Dorena, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us and for being such a role model and for creating these tools, that I know are going to be blessings to a lot of people to help get through, unfortunately, we have no shortage of troubles, and challenges in the world today. So, the fact that you're creating
Mm,
means, and I know it's very heartfelt, that you're doing this and
mm,
very spirit driven.
mm, mm.
So, thank you for that.
Oh, well, I receive your words. Thank you for sharing that. And, you know, I keep saying this and I mean it with my whole heart. I really feel grateful that I get to put what I hope are good messages in the world. Our kids deserve that. They deserve the best. And maybe one day I will write something for the big people. But right now, kids are my joy. I say they're my
Hey,
joy. They're my jam. So this is what we're
don't
doing.
stop.
I will not. I will
I'm
not.
really
But thank
glad that
you.
you have, some, great projects coming up too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for your important work for continuing to create space. I don't take that for granted, and I honor the legacy that you've set forth that I get to walk in as well.
Well, thanks so much, Dorena, and thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brian.